Good evening once again. I've had a little break and I'm feeling okay to continue reading the words of Dr. Vernon Coleman from where I left off. I'll backtrack a few words and then continue, but I find it very distressing because the facts really are the truth. He and his wife have researched everything that he's written and confirmed and reconfirmed the truth and the facts. These are facts that I'm reading, and of course they're very disturbing. So I'll say what he said, because he's an old man in a chair after all. The last words he said before I stopped, I'll read a few of them. He said, "I could manage a bit of light dusting, I suppose, but more than that would require more effort than I have available to spend on such matters." In other words, his writing is more important than doing a bit of housework. I feel like that, but today I did quite a lot because I was feeling guilty about not doing it. And then he said, "I would have great difficulty in preparing a meal." Not so me. And I hate going to the shops. I'll second that. I hate it as well. So presumably, he said, I'd get dumped into the CF9 category, which is the category they want to dispose of. And so there's no hope for me, and the NHS would recommend that I be denied antibiotics, painkillers or surgery if I fell down and broke an arm. The post-coronavirus hoax NHS doesn't want to save anyone who is disabled, and all patients in care homes are by definition suitable for murder by omission. Originally NICE, N-I-C-E, told doctors that they should assess patients with autism as scoring high for frailty. I am, confess, still rather confused about when or whether this advice was removed. I checked around with other bodies. I did not find the BMA website much help, though it did have a useful commercial webinar for doctors wanting financial advice. The BMA is, after all, a trades union which exists to look after doctors, not patients. And the General Medical Council, rather bizarrely, got in on the act by defining approaching end of life as patients who are likely to die within the next 12 months. This, of course, is the sort of dangerous rubbish one might expect from the overpaid bureaucratic form shufflers at the General Medical Council, because it is always impossible to say that a patient is going to die within 12 months. It may be possible to say that a patient might die within 12 hours, but not 12 months. Only arrogant doctors and ignorant bureaucrats claim to know that a patient might die within 12 months. Dr. Coleman goes on to say, when I was in general practice a couple of centuries ago, I knew many patients who were given months to live, but who lived many, many years. Two I remember well had young children to look after, and although they'd been given only months to live, they both lived for years, simply refusing to give up and surviving on sheer willpower as much as anything else. If the GMC rule had been applied, they would have been allowed to die, or, the way things seem to be going, they would have been quietly euthanized in case they fell ill and needed care. While digging around, I also found this statement: physicians have been empowered to grant a mercy death to patients considered incurable, the mentally ill and the handicapped. And then I looked a little closer and realized that the date of that policy statement was October 1939, and the author was the well-known medical expert known as Adolf Hitler. Hitler's policy, which seems to me to bear an uncomfortably close relationship to the official policy of the UK's National Health Service these days, was created in 1920 in a book written by a psychiatrist and a lawyer. What a deadly combination. Who argued that the economic savings justified killing those with useless lives. The policy was to kill the incurably ill and the physically or mentally disabled and elderly. Hitler's policy was officially discontinued in 1941, when it seems that even the Nazis found it a bit much. But the advice from NICE, N-I-C-E, is still valid, and the NHS is still prepared to refuse life-saving treatment for the elderly, the disabled, or the frail. Refusing treatment to patients solely because of their age or fitness is a form of eugenics. It seems that social cleansing is alive and well in Britain today. If you aren't saving people when you could do so, then you are killing them. There doesn't seem to be all that much difference between the thinking behind the policy of Matt Hancock's NHS and the policy of Adolf Hitler's Germany. And that is where I stopped. I was so distressed with reading that I had to stop. But I really felt that it was worth re-recording again in case nobody saw that last video, because it is the situation we're all in now. With winter coming and flu coming, these policies are going to be activated big time because of the hidden agenda of the global agenda, which is affecting the whole world and going to continue to do so for the 5 years, 6 years up to 2030, when they plan to depopulate us big time. Not thousands, not millions, billions. Billionaires are behind it. Bill Gates of this world and others like him. It's their plan to have a one world government. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. I'm going to continue reading Vernon Coleman from this spot where I stopped. And these have got names that were already read out earlier. If you slap a DNR form on a patient, with or without their permission, you are condemning them to death. They only need the form, whether it's signed or not. If you trick someone into agreeing to one, then that is just as bad, and that is what the care workers and health workers and people other than family, I doubt if one family member would agree to have that signed for their family member. Yes, they hate them. Mine would sign. My kids, I mean. Oh God, Lord have mercy. In my view, the NHS has been Nazified. There are many good doctors and nurses working for it, but there are many who are so bad, they are evil. Obedient souls have been witlessly clapping the NHS. I wasn't one of them. And all the time the NHS has been deliberately delivering death notices, DNR forms, to the frail and elderly. The British should not have been clapping. We should have been clicking our heels and snapping off fancy Heil Hancock salutes. Which of us gave doctors permission to behave like Nazis and to deny treatment to people considered unimportant, expensive, or expendable? In my view, every single doctor or nurse or administrator who has put a DNR notice on a patient under these regulations should be fired, arrested, and imprisoned. I don't know what for. There must be something. How do these people sleep at night? Don't they feel anything for the people they are supposed to be looking after? I am prepared to believe that not everyone in healthcare can have a genuine vocation. But the people who were scattering these DNR notices around were paid to look after people, and they have betrayed those people. Do not resuscitate notices were devised to ensure that the genuinely terminally ill were allowed to die with dignity, without being dragged time and time again from wherever they were heading. DNR notices were originally a necessary part of medicine to avoid General Franco type situation. But now we have 1,000 Dr. Mengel's clones working in the health service. That sounds as if I am exaggerating, but the sad thing is that I am not. Dr. Mengel would have thrived in today's NHS. He'd have liked the clapping and the adulation too. NICE should be disbanded immediately. We would all be better off without it. And while we are at it, we should get rid of hectoring Hancock, who should be hung, drawn, and quartered. Meanwhile, if you think you or someone you know could be rated C5 or worse, it might be a good idea to ask your GP if you have been put on the suitable for dying list. Those lists exist at your GP surgery. And send a copy of this video to your MP and ask him or her if he or she knows what's going on in the NHS these days. I think I'll cut that there because the next subject is completely different. It's on dentistry.